This is assignment 19.2 about the review of sailing. So there were a range of different skills we had to demonstrate throughout the session, and the first one was steering and using the tiller. The tiller is a metal bar that connects to the rudder, and you use it to steer the boat. If you're sitting on the right hand side of the boat and push the tiller away from you, you go left, and if you pull the tiller towards you, you go right. This links in with the steering, which was another aspect we had to try and demonstrate, and the steering is very much linked to how the tiller is used. So for this skill, I gave myself a rating of 8 out of 10. This is because the steering of the boat was smooth and the turning was pretty good, but at some points, especially at the start of the session, I steered way too hard, which evidently caused the boat to almost capsize. But as the session went on, I was starting to get the hang of it. The next skill was sailing into the wind. So this is when the boat is able to sail head on into the wind and yet still be able to go forwards because the sail will be in and the boat will be at full power. The reason this is because there will be a lot less wind resistance than if the sail was fully out. For this skill, I gave myself an 8 out of 10. The reason this is because most of the time I had no problem with handling the sail. I had it in most of the time, which made the boat go faster, but sometimes I would by accident let it out at the wrong time, which caused the boat to slow down. The third skill was tacking into the wind. So this is when the wind is a lot stronger when you turn into it, which causes the boom to swing across a lot quicker. Once the boom has come across, it's vital to switch to the other side of the boat in order for there to be a balance in the wind resistance into the sail and the weight on the opposite side, which would prevent the boat from capsizing. For this skill, I gave myself a 6 out of 10. The reason this is because it took quite a while to get into the habit of turning efficiently into the wind without the boat almost capsizing. And again, I did get the hang of it, but it was quite a difficult task. The penultimate skill was moving in the boat to support tacking. This involved cooperation because we had to watch out for the boom that came flying across. The person steering the rudder had to actually change sides of the boat, but the person handling the ropes simply just had to lean to the opposite side to make sure the weight distribution was even. For this skill, I gave myself a rating of 8 out of 10. I gave it quite a high rating because I managed to switch sides of the boat while turning efficiently every time. It was a lot more difficult when tacking into the wind due to the speed of the boom flying across, but I still managed to get across, allowing the boat to stay upright rather than just capsizing. And finally, the last skill was tacking away from the wind. This is exactly the same as turning into the wind, but this time it's about turning the complete opposite way or away from the wind. It's a bit easier than tacking into it because you have a lot more time to think about the boom that comes across as the wind has a lot less power. In this skill, I gave a rating of 7 out of 10. I gave myself a rating of tacking away from the wind a bit higher than tacking into the wind because this was a bit easier, and so I managed to get it done a lot better and more efficiently. And that was because I had more time to think about the boom that came across, which allowed me to switch sides of the boat a lot more efficiently. So now we move on to the SWOT analysis, or the opportunities I could have in order to improve my sailing ability. So the first one would be joining a club. There are a vast majority of different places I could go in order to join one of these. One of them is to join the Brighton Marina Yacht Club, and in order to get a concessionary membership, I would need to pay £99 for 1 year, which is a lot of money, and it would be difficult to pay, but timing is also another issue. Secondly, another opportunity I could have to improve my sailing would be going for a one-to-one session with a sailing instructor. This would be a great opportunity to have because it would mean the instructor just focuses on teaching me skills rather than having to pay attention to the other people there too. And then finally, I could attend taster sessions at Hove Lagoon. So these guys run a variation of different activities down there, and it would be a good chance to see what they're like and see if they're effective enough to properly join the club and pay for it. But as ever, there are still threats that could prevent me from taking part in these taster sessions and one-to-one sessions. So something that would be a potential obstacle for joining a sailing club would be the money and time. It is quite a lot of money to pay for the year, but time is also an issue as well. This is because, as it's a yearly membership, I would require to go a lot of times to try and make the money's worth. But with all the college work I have, it would be very hard to get to a lot of the sessions, and therefore it would be like a waste of money. Another obstacle that would prevent me from having a one-to-one session would be the distance. So there aren't exactly any relatively close places I could do this, and so that would be an issue for me. All it would mean is that it would take up a lot of time to actually head down to where I'm supposed to meet, and that would be an issue as it could get in the way of my college work again. Then finally, the last potential threat that would stop me from attending taster sessions at Hove Lagoon would be the distance again. As it's down right at the seafront and down in Hove, there's no actual easy way of getting there, and so that would be an issue there. My parents both work full-time, so I couldn't get a lift down there, and also I'd have to get a train followed by a bus or two to actually get to the lagoon. This then develops into further issues as it relates back to taking up a lot of time and also money for the public transport. So this is my development plan. I've got a range of different sessions and activities to try and improve my sailing ability. And then here are my justifications and my choices. So for my 6-week training program, I've noted a variation of different sessions and activities. My first one of the week is a taster session, and the reason I'm doing this is to get another view of how sailing works. So as it's free, it would be a lot more tempting to go, as well as it being very helpful to get back into the sailing mindset because it has been quite a while since I last went. Another session that I'll be taking part in is a one-on-one session. I felt like these will really benefit me as, again, it can just be me with the instructor, meaning that they can focus their attention on me, allowing me to be able to receive more information. One-to-one sessions will really enhance my knowledge of sailing, which will improve and boost the amount of skill I have within the sport, and also increase the likelihood that the skills I perform will go right. These sessions do cost money, but I feel like it will really benefit me to get better at sailing. The next session of the week will be working on my agility, but not really on my core strength. It's mainly on my flexibility. The reason I'll be doing this is because it may become very helpful in avoiding the boom and reaching for the rope for the sail while holding onto the tiller at the back. The different ways I'll be improving my flexibility is by first of all doing yoga. This is because it's a very effective way of increasing your pliability, as you're constantly progressing the range of movement available at one joint for a while, which makes the joints more flexible. It's basically developmental stretching I'll be doing. And then another way I'll be increasing my flexibility is by doing P&F stretching. This is when you stretch a joint as far as it can go, and then just as you relax the muscle, somebody will push that body part further, which causes the muscle to contract again, which then increases the pliability at that joint even further. Then finally, I'll be measuring the progression in my flexibility by doing a sit and reach test 3 times before and after each session to track how well I'm doing. Then my last session of the first week will be watching tutorial videos online. The reason I'll be watching these is because it will give me a real insight and step-by-step guide on how to perform each skill effectively. I'll be given 1 session a week of watching these tutorial videos, as I feel like the more times I watch these types of videos, the better knowledge I'll have about them. And also, once I've watched a couple of videos, I can then practice those certain skills in the sessions I have, whether that be one-to-one or skill sessions. As well as watching videos, I've also put into the program a couple of sessions of getting to know the boat mechanics. So these will be things like getting to know the speed I require to turn into or away from the wind, how far to turn the tiller, and how far the sail must be out to make an effective sail, just stuff like that. And then understanding all those would really benefit me when sailing a boat. Then finally, the last aspect of my 6-week training program for sailing are going to be going to an event and entering a competition, which I'll do twice to see how I differ from the first and second one. The reason I'll be going to an event is because I would like to see in real life how the sailors keep control of their boat and see if there are any tips I could pick up and use for when I go to sail. For the competition, I felt like it was important to see how my progression is getting on after 4 weeks of sailing training, and then compare it to the next competition I enter, which will be after the full 6 weeks training. This will give me a real insight on how far I really have progressed in a short amount of time, and it will give me a chance to compare my ability to others' performances in a real life setting.